All right, welcome back. I guess I got cut off last time. The one problem I see about working at home is I only have one screen, so I don't have a timer on it. In my office, I have two monitors, so I can tell when I'm about to run up against my 10-minute time limit. But we're almost done here. I've got just a couple more slides. I'd left off here with some of the conceptual problems with GDP. So basically the point here is that GDP measures anything that gets bought and paid for. That means it leaves out things that may be really valuable and important that don't get bought and paid for. Some of those are up on the top half of your screen. But GDP also includes some things that might really represent bad things for society, such as if there's a lot of crime or terrorism and people are putting alarm systems on their houses and society is having to hire more police and NSA agents and things like that. Or if you have a really polluted environment and people are getting sick and having a lot of medical expenses or something like that, all that expenditure gets added into GDP. So just understand that GDP is not a measure of well-being, it's a measure of how much stuff gets produced. Here's another kind of slide that speaks for itself, tells us some of the same things, but one of the exercises you're going to do in this chapter and one of the possible topics for a critical thinking paper is to compare GDP with another measure, or there are a couple other measures that have been developed, like genuine progress indicator or gross national happiness. So there are groups out there that are trying to come up with a way of measuring people's quality of life and happiness and sort of say, hey, maybe we should use this instead of GDP. I don't know. I think they're kind of interesting, but I guess the point is just understand what GDP is and what it's not for now. Yeah, I've talked about those. You'll see that in exercise 7.2. This is just a quick look at some of the things measured by gross national happiness. Interestingly, the country of Bhutan has adopted this as their measure. They don't measure GDP anymore. They don't worry about it. They're out to increase people's happiness. So I think that's kind of cool. Another look at gross national happiness and yeah, a couple more slides. So this one is kind of interesting. So this plots GDP per capita on the green line, the higher green curve. And you can see that it's been going steadily upward over the years. The blue or purple lower line plots GPI, the genuine progress indicator per capita for the world. So while income has continued going up, these, based on that measure of kind of progress and happiness and quality of life, that peaked in 1978 and really has gone slightly down ever since. So according to that, 1978 is the best year ever, I have to say, except for the music, because the music in the 70s was not too great. One last slide. This plots GDP per capita along the bottom horizontal axis, and another measure, the social progress index, which is another of those measures of just kind of how fair and equal and how good is quality of life in society, things like that. So and this is plotted for a whole bunch of different countries. So this is most of the countries in the world. And you see a clear relationship here where when GDP per capita is really low, as it increases, social progress increases, but then it kind of flattens out. So it's sort of interesting. Most of the research tells us that income makes us happier up to a point. You know, going from being really poor to coming out of poverty improves your happiness. Once you get to a certain point, it really doesn't add very much. So anyway, a little bit of a side note there, but I think that wraps things up for chapter 7. So thanks. I'll see you again in chapter 8.